Suppose your persona is a woman entrepreneur or a solopreneur. If you had to put together that persona, what would be the one sentence they would say that is the problem? Because once you start thinking like them, you are able to communicate to them.
Hello and welcome to AG Speaks Digital Marketing Talk Show. Here we share with you cool tools, tips and tricks, and lots of useful information and insights to help you get more leads and customers for your business. You must be wondering that you're doing all this marketing effort and nothing is giving you results. Well, one of the reasons could be that maybe your message is not resonating with your target audience. Maybe you've not really figured out who your target persona is or who your buyer persona is. Well, today I have an expert with me who will share with you some tips on how you can define your buyer persona so sharply that your messages will start resonating with them. Stay with us till the end for this insightful conversation with an entrepreneur and a digital marketing expert. I welcome you, Surbhi, to this show.
Thank you, Anjali, for reaching out and so warmly inviting me to the show. You're doing a great job, and it's really my pleasure to be here with you and to talk to your audience.
To begin with, Surbhi, let's hear your backstory a little bit. What were some of the childhood experiences that have shaped you today, and how you got started on this journey?
Sure. I think my childhood, I was born in India, so in a very small nuclear family. I did have access to grandparents. So what they did, what they were doing, my grandfather was a freedom fighter. So obviously stories that he shared really helped me in that sense. And then my grandmother was very religious. So religion, grounded me in some sense to go back to whenever there was any difficulty. And those were very simple value systems: honesty, simplicity, and the value of hard work were the driving forces in the early years, which groomed me, so as to say. And then I graduated in MBA in marketing and entrepreneurship. At that time, I had no idea that I'm going to be an entrepreneur someday. Neither did I dream of it as a goal to work towards. I just wanted to probably make a difference in whichever field that I was working in. And I saw my dad working. His hard work paid off, and we could reap the benefits of that. And similarly, I kept thinking that hard work is one thing that you kind of do, and then you have a good life. So I did a lot of internships actually when I was doing MBA, and I worked with the best of the brands. I was really fortunate. I worked with DHL when the transition happened from the red and white early days, and now they are yellow and red. So that time when this whole rebranding happened, and it exposed me to such a different world of the communication piece of it, how brand works in terms of visual perception. They had literally created a world shortage of that Pantone shade of yellow, because they were going all yellow from white and red. So that exposed me to this whole domain of branding. I also worked with Future Group, which is Pantaloons, the Big Bazaars, and all of that. And I worked with the pharmaceutical company Sanofi and Aventis, where they were asking us to get, we used to go attend conferences, different conferences where the medical practitioners would gather. And we were supposed to find out what incentives worked best for them, because all these medical practitioners and pharmaceutical companies, they work through medical agents, and they give them some incentives to stock their products. So as a researcher, it kind of opened again another avenue for me to understand what psychologically what works for a person in a particular domain in terms of an incentive to talk about that product. So all these experiences towards my formative years helped me to have a customer first thinking attitude. Right. So bit by bit it kind of developed, and I felt those opportunities were very valuable in shaping me.
That's awesome. I'm pretty interested in learning, how did you then launch on this journey of being an entrepreneur, and what happened to sort of, what made you take that plunge?
Okay, so we are zipping past like a lot of my work experience here, and now we are to current probably 3 years back,
Oh, I see.
where
Okay.
I moved countries. I was in Singapore before, and then I moved countries. I was trailing my spouse and my family to come to Dubai, and you know, I had a great global network of vendors that I was working in my past role as a global marketing director.
Mm-hmm.
When I came here, I had a lot of these connections that I had made in the past, which
Right.
started saying that, hey, will you do a content marketing project for us? Hey, will you do this for us? Our website is not performing. Will you come and just see it? So all these multiple small projects were keeping me busy. And for that, I had no time to go and give interviews really to get another job here in a new country.
Right.
Plus, this when you move countries, when you shift countries with when you're alone as a single person, it's way different than when you have like children and the spouse and having the responsibility to get everything started.
That's right.
And uproot from one place to come and settle in another place. It takes time. And I said, I'll give myself time to do that. But within 2 weeks, I thought I just can't stay at home. So I started taking up all these different projects.
Nice.
And one thing led to another. And in Dubai, in UAE, they started this VAT, the taxation system, where they couldn't hire freelancers anymore. And
Okay.
also, I felt at some point that, I needed to structure all of this because it was, while the work kept coming and it kept me very busy, I needed to make sense of all this in terms of building a portfolio, because that's what I was advising people, that you got to have your website, you have to have a digital presence. And
Classic problem.
this was me without this was me with only my LinkedIn profile or being referred to everywhere else. So that's where I started Digital Genie. And I said, look, this is the company, this is the brand, this is what I'm doing. And within Digital Genie, I couldn't just say I do everything, because as a global marketer, I had experience, knowledge, network of everything digital marketing landscape.
Right.
So as a person who starts setting up business, I had to really focus in on what gives the best value in terms of my experience, in terms of my understanding, and to the client, what will turn out to be the best. So most of my conversations across the region here were with businesses who had set up. They had a bare minimum digital assets, like they had a website, they had probably social media pages and stuff, but they did not. They were, every time I met them, they're saying there is no ROI. The assets are there, they're not performing. So they were expecting me to come in there and, like every other agency, tell them, no, your website is not functioning well. You have not upgraded it. There are some plugins missing, or you are on a wrong social media platform, all of that. But I came back to them saying that, where is your persona? Where is your buyer persona? And they were like, hang on a minute, what are you talking? Is it a new web software, or what is it? So then the talk started. Look, when you start a business, and it's a classic problem. Like, all the founders will start a business, they have an idea and they want to sell, they want to solve a problem, and they create that product or a service, and they go to the market with that. And when they go to the market, the next step is keep doing more and more of it to earn money to sustain the business.
That's right.
What happens is nobody spends time to think about who is your ideal persona or ideal customer. So if you were to imagine like these concentric circles, with the first circle being like in the middle, and then outer circles, the center circle is a circle where most of your target audience is. So to understand who is in that center, the bullseye, you need to spend some time, you need to follow steps. Now, typical 3 steps is like, firstly, don't assume that you're selling to everybody. You would say, all the females in this, women entrepreneurs, females in this age group, just don't assume that is the segment. You may say that to me, but have you asked them? have you literally gone and spoken to these audience that you're talking, and more broader the audience you keep, difficult it is to talk to them, because even the 20-year-old to 25 years old, like that section may not have the life experiences of a 35-year-old. So the way the decision making works for that audience is going to be different. So ideally, once you ask and reach out to this audience, ideally you need to come back to your drawing board and write down the key characteristics. And there are umpteen number of formats out there on the internet. If you even search buyer persona, you will get umpteen number of formats. Pick any one, whatever works for you. Start somewhere and write down the key characteristics. The demographic characteristics is okay, even the psychographic and the behavior characteristics. What I like to do is go a step further. I like to put myself in the shoe of that customer and think, if I had to define my problem in like say 20 words, which is one sentence, what would it be? So like, suppose your persona is a woman entrepreneur or a solopreneur. If you had to put together that persona, what would be the one sentence they would say that is the problem? Because once you start thinking like them, you are able to communicate to them and solve their problems accordingly. So I felt those kind of exercises really helped. And then writing it down, what happened again, and when I started talking to the clients here, they had nothing written. It was all in everybody's mind. So I would speak to founders, I would speak to their say growth team, like the finance officer or the operations head. All of these, it was like a classic blind men and the elephant story, where there are these 5 blind men who are touching different parts of the elephant, and they would describe it in their own way. So if I did that experiment on any of these organizations, everybody would have a different understanding of who their customer is. So once you have that understanding, write it down. And some of my clients have really done a brilliant job of not only writing it down, putting it in an employee handbook. And one of the clients has actually does that as an onboarding process. So when he's onboarding anybody, he actually sits with the persona and talks through them. So then everybody has the same idea of who is their target audience. Yes, so going back to that concentric circle, right? So you have addressed this bullseye customer. There are always these other people around that bullseye concentric circle, the outer circle, who would be interested in their project, who may be not directly buying the product, but they could be the influencers to tell people about that product, or so you need to address them as well. So the third point I feel is like you don't stick with one persona. You don't write only one persona and say, okay, that is it, this is my target persona, I'm going to do. So you need to have a multiple versions of it. Even if you're selling one product or one service, at least write 2 to 3 personas. So then you can expand your communications accordingly as well. So just to recap, right? Like the 3 steps I do is, don't assume who's your target audience. Ask them. Second is, write it down, make it black and white, communicate with the internal team. And the third one is, repeat this for other concentric circles as well. And the last thing I would like to say on this persona thing is, once you've done all this, it's not over. It's a living document. As your business grows, it's definitely going to move along with you. So park some time, go back to it, work with the team. Is it working for you still? Are these communications that you have built, the progress that you've made, is it reflective of what you've done in the past? And if the audience has also moved, because the biggest example I can give you is during COVID. After COVID, like after this whole pandemic episode, it's just a lot of buyer personas for customers, for my customers, have shifted. Right. So there is definitely shift that happens. So if you keep sticking with the old version, you have to upgrade this as well as you go along.
Thank you for sharing that. And basically, I love that system that you have of concentric circles, and your core, and then an outer circle and a peripheral. It's an interesting way of defining and being very clear about your persona. And I think one of the big challenges that I hear most of the clients and most of the people that I talk to is that that how do you go about sort of really diving deep into knowing that person's mind. So when you say go talk to them, do you recommend a system that helps you do a deep dive? And how many such people do you recommend that a brand should really go deep dive and interview them and really try to understand what keeps them awake at night? So how do you really get into that emotional, psychological aspect of knowing your personas really deeply?
Yeah, so again, going back to the formative years, when I worked with the Future Group, Pantaloons and Big Bazaar and all, what they were asking us to do in different brands is to understand the consumer psyche, what makes them pick a particular shampoo bottle versus what makes them, so that really the B2C aspect of it. But
Right.
I think over the years, I also had a very intense B2B experience. So I'm able to take the lessons and kind of go on to B2B and see what makes people buy uh, at the end. But I think the question being, what do you do to bring that persona out of that individual and write it down? I feel one technique that really works for me is the survey. Most of the customers I work with are like, in 5 years to 6 years of their business journey or beyond. And they have certain set of customers that they have collaborated, like they have done a lot of business with, they have good relationship with. So going back to them, they are willing to give them honest, feedback. If you're starting up and if you don't have any kind of customer base, then what, again, I would say is do a survey, reach out to people who are I think technology is such a leveler of sorts, because now you can actually get onto LinkedIn, you can get onto Facebook, wherever you think your customer, at least you have to start somewhere. You have to have a gut feeling of who you are after.
Right.
Reach out to them. And I think the best way to do it methodically. Just select 10 people from the list.
Right.
Go to 10. Even if you get three responses, it's a good way to start.
Right.
And once you get those responses assimilated, integrated into your product, service, the communication, again, at certain other point, when you have had some success, measure it and go back to it. Because as you run business, as you grow your business, you will definitely have access to many more people.
Right.
And then you have some traction with communicating. So survey is a great tool. I think when you are in a certain geography that your potential audience is, target audience is, reach out, take them out for a coffee, talk to them. That is really good because it's beyond survey. I think that two-way communication is beyond survey, because you can then understand the finer nuances. Right. Of when the eyes go big, when the worry is shown on the face, like those kind of things. The body language also communicates. So if you absorb only that, is enough for you to bring the finer nuances. Again, by writing it down will really help you think through a lot of other aspects of that as well, the software aspects.
It's very interesting. So, I mean, what I hear you say is that leverage on your existing knowledge first. You begin with your gut feel, and then you leverage the existing contacts that you have, or your existing customers, or what have you got, and get them to talk, or talk to them, or learn their insights. And if you're completely starting out from scratch, and you're just beginning, then also it's just best to go after what you think is these 10 people who sort of fit the bill for your imagined persona, and then just go out and talk to them. So that's wonderful, and thank you so much for sharing that. Is there a way for the marketers, and especially focusing on small business owners, right, who may not have very fancy technology or tools to leverage, like which probably big brands have access to? So what are the top 4 or 5 tools that you can recommend to leverage technology's power to the small business owner, and which something they can do straight away on their own? They don't even need to hire a consultant or get an expert help to get started with respect to building or understanding their buyer personas.
For buyer personas, I think so let me just step back a little bit and say that today is something that most of these consultants are calling the fourth industrial revolution. What it means is that the technology that is available for the bigger brands, the smaller brands, or even the startups have access to. We are not talking about these big Cisco's and, the products from there. We are talking about really those apps and AI-based, AI-based softwares, which are, for one single user, most of them are free. So I feel in terms of building your business, the tech stack that you can have access to today is definitely way better than probably like 5 years ago. So, and there are a lot of free stuff out there. So it's only up to you to kind of look that up and access and then leverage them. Also, I would want to warn them that, you can't be, there is this whole shiny object syndrome, because once you get access to all these softwares, you have the next big thing happening, because there are new and new softwares or applications keep coming, and you want to keep going to them. So back to the whole persona building.
Top five,
I feel the persona building softwares, I don't think there are templates. There are dime a dozen templates out there which people can go access it, whatever works for you, adopt it into your system and put it across. Surveys, I feel using Google Forms is a great tool. It's very simple. You can just make survey all of 5 questions to begin with. And it's also a great tool to access, get database, build your database. I think as a first step, I would say that I'm just imagining here a complete startup who has a great idea, wants to go to the market, get this survey form built, put it out there. Whenever you're networking with people, interacting with people that you think, or you're building that list of 10 to begin with to access to, you give them the survey, get them to fill that form, collect their email IDs, because one of the classic mistakes we end up making is we never collect people's email IDs, and we say, that's okay. I mean, they're connected with me on LinkedIn, so I can access to them anytime. Don't make that mistake. When you're collecting the survey form, put it in your database. And again, like, there are umpteen number of database systems which are available. You can even have a MailChimp to save your data for the first 1,000. I think it's free.
2,000.
So 2,000 it's free. So then you have those databases to go back to if you have to upgrade your personas. So I think there are all these simple tools that you can build it in your tech stack and keep improving on personas. But one thing that I would be still old school about is to print. Once you are ready with this persona, you have developed it, print it, stick it up on the walls, looking at it, because that's what you are talking to. That's what the person you're selling to.
And I think a follow-up question which is coming to my mind is that, your whole research about identifying your customer or buyer persona is as good as the quality of the questions you ask on that survey. So what do you think, according to you, will be the top 5 questions that should definitely go in this survey to sort of figure out who your persona is?
Yeah, that's a very good question, actually, Anjali, and I'm so glad you asked, because one of the classic mistakes we make is we firstly assume that the customer is dumb, and second, or the prospect is dumb, and second, we don't, suppose I meet you at a coffee shop or something, right? I would definitely offer to buy you a coffee. I would definitely go ahead and choose the best seat for you. Like, when you send a survey form, you don't make it very appealing and nice, easy for the person to answer it. So, the first thing that when we do this survey, and it's very simple, I think it's very commonsensical as well, that please give a multiple choice question. It's a noisy, busy world out there. Do not expect customers, prospects to, write paragraphs and stories for you.
Right.
Keep it very simple. And like some simple things like the top 5 questions beyond the demographics. I'm assuming that like the demographics, like, or if you want to even capture that, put it in there, like the age group, the gender, obviously, the email, company, location, all of that. Besides those, the key questions are, what is it in a product that appeals to them, or a service. Like now, if you're, for example, you have a service where you are educating, you want a prospect to buy your course. You may have certain background of the course. Suppose the course is giving ability for a person to progress in the career, say time management skill. So you have to go backwards a little bit and say that, okay, what are the top 3 areas? Select these amongst this list. What are the top 3 areas where you would like to spend time on? So easily, then you know that the person prefers to spend time on X, Y, and Z. But you give them like more obviously questions to tick or choose from. The other thing I like to do is give them sentences which like how in a psychometric test you would have you are at a party, and what would you behave like? You would be on the corner and just see how the party is going on. You are the one who's out there interacting with people. You are the one who's always checking out the food. What is it like? So you are understanding the behavioral style. So there's some ideas that you can take from these psychometric tests. The third thing I feel is how people are searching on Google. Give them simple Google search terms and ask them to select from there. That are you this is so if you want to say the best time management tool on the internet, is it that one search? Are they looking for tool based? Are they looking consulting based? Are they looking for course based? What are they looking for?
Nice.
And then the other thing I feel is really nice is to understand their thinking, their plan for the future. So in the next 2 years, you will find yourself more productive. What do you think? You will have, because you're more productive, you will have better tools to work with, or you will have a system that you follow, a habit. So, like you ask questions which you are positioning them into a better spot. Because obviously you have to assume certain things. You are assuming that this person is struggling with time, and most of us are struggling with time. So, you assume that, okay, this person is struggling with time and how I can do it better, but you put him to allow him to visualize himself in a better position and ask him to select. So that multiple choice questions, these kind of tips and tricks really help to suss out the best information. And and then even buying patterns. If it was a course, right? For example, we are talking about a course for time management. Would you pay this range to this range for a course like this? Would you pay this range to this? So you kind of understand, okay, this is the appetite for the person to buy, and that way you can do a better pricing of your course as well. Maybe your price, suppose your price is like at $200 and the person is willing to buy it for 50, then you say, okay, I'll piece it for him. So that itself gives you an understanding of how you're going to communicate to the person, saying that I'm going to piece it for you. Right. At a piecemeal way, I'm going to give it to you.
Wonderful. Thank you. That was very, very insightful indeed. And if I may, take the liberty to paraphrase and sort of summarize what you just said is, of course, apart from trying to collect the demographic and the psychographic data, through your survey, what is really important and crucial for you is to find out what is the pain point that you assume that they are facing, right? So you sort of assume that they are facing a problem and you allow them to pick and choose, and so that you don't put the words in their mouth, you just give them certain options and then they make the selection, right? And at the same time, by giving them these multiple choices, options, you're making it easy for them to fill the response, because nobody has the time to write long drawn out responses for you. Then second thing that you said was to make use of the psychometric tests. And the third thing I heard you say was what is important is that you make them see the shift from a place of pain to a place of where they have achieved some amount of relief or success from that pain. And so that, again, you should give them a certain options, but let them to sort of choose what is that successful place where they want to be. So you want to understand that how do they visualize their point B from point A. And that was another interesting thing that you pointed out was pretty cool where you said, how are they searching for it? Like, ask them. So maybe you give them certain, terms or choices and ask
Search
them
terms, yeah.
that, yeah, search and let them select, like, out of these four options, which one do you think you will search for? So that gives
Right.
you a very subconscious level insight into their, what are they really looking for? Are they tool focused, or are they, some service focused, or are they consulting focused, or what focus are they? So
Right.
that was super super interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Thank
Anjali,
you.
and the other thing I want to add is to these questions, right? Like the search terms, for
Right,
example.
right.
The places where you think that the person has the opportunity to write a bit more,
Mhm.
yeah, always put an other option.
Right.
So
Give them a
the
choice.
option is other, and
Right.
then give them. And then even if I think one of the brilliant ways, I worked once is if you give other, there was this one prospect who has always chosen others. Like not a single statement was. So it was very difficult for me to understand. So I picked up the call and I said, hey, your survey form has been so amazing, and I want to really know you. Can we meet for a coffee or something? And then I understood from him that he is one of those very different person as a person. Like he wants
Right.
to, and this was for a really a technology company who was trying to venture into Dubai. And then we figured out that these are the persona types who are really the 10% of the crowd. Then there was other personas which fell into like the 60% of the crowd. So that was the bullseye. The 60%, the 10%, those 10% became on the peripheral. But when we talk to the 10%, they are also beneficial for the business because they are the ones who are influencing others to look at the business. You see, the 60% are the person, 60% people are the
Followers.
people, the bullseye, who are going to really buy from you. The 10%, the outer, the peripheral, are really the people who will influence others to come look at it. Or even they may
Right.
be just following you for inspiration, or some understanding, or a side understanding. Because a lot of people are learning from other industry because of the collapse of the industries.
Right.
So there are other people such who are observing trends.
Nice, interesting. In fact, I am reminded of, on my course page, as we were talking about course, I just added one single question, and I left it there as an open-ended question. So what brought you here today?
You're right.
What was happening in your life that brought you to this page today? And I left it open, and you won't believe it, people actually share
Right.
that this is what got me here. I was struggling with how to do Instagram well, and I stumbled upon your thing. So people share, and it's such an interesting insight to allow them to tell you that, hey, what brought you here? Now I want to sort of shift the focus of this conversation to some of the entrepreneurial learnings that you have had in your journey so far. Like, I think one of the biggest uh, you know uh, roadblocks in success to entrepreneurship is that we tend to give up too fast, or
Mm-hmm.
and it's a solo journey, right? It's a lonely world out there. um, so how did you sort of face some of these challenges, and how do you think you are doing, and what's working well for you?
Sure. So I think so everybody's journeys are different.
That's
And
right.
for me, what happened was I never really planned to be an entrepreneur. It was quite an accident. And given that it was an accident, it was still, kind of a rolling a ball as such. Like, I kept going from one project to another. But then at some point, I found myself stretched too thin. I was doing everything for everybody. So the first learning was, even if you know like a 10 items, focus on
Yeah.
this one or two items which will give you the best satisfaction, and then
Mhm.
ROI. So I
Mhm.
really felt that that was the key learning. It
how,
took me
how
about
did that
18.
yeah how did that realization come about? What was that epiphany moment which made you realize I can't be everything to everyone, and this is what is the best thing. What happened really? What made that shift happen?
So the conversations with the prospects, right?
I
Again, it
see.
was like through conversations that they would say that, and what happens is also, I think that is the second part to it, that when you are with a client, like you're already working with them, doing some project with them, they know that you are able to do other 10 things as well,
That's right.
and they just add it up. So then the second learning is the scope creep, and this kept happening. And as a solopreneur, there is just not much that you can, kind of, you have to be really, really firm with saying that I will not do this. But,
Right.
as a solopreneur, you're always trying to grow yourself.
Right.
And that's when it happened. Like, mostly I was able to do a lot more. I was everything to everybody. And there was no, and the third thing that happened was no top of the mind awareness. Like if anybody had to think of personas, they couldn't think of Surbhi, because Surbhi was doing
Everything.
website also, content also. I was doing strategy also. I was a fractional CMO for somebody. So it was everything for everybody. Yeah. So that was these 2-3 things that tied together. And I said, no, look, I'm going to focus on these 3 areas, and of which the third area of thought leadership really brings me a lot of satisfaction to see somebody's expertise shine out there. So that really is my passion area. I really like to do that. So those were the I think the hurdles as such. The other side of the hurdle was a new country. This country is now, only now after 4-5 years, is just opening up to the whole entrepreneurship. The entrepreneurship scene, the startup scene is now blooming here. And coming from a very advanced place to this place doesn't help, because as an entrepreneur, you don't want to be like set back with license fees, the banking fees, and all of that, because it's everybody's story. You are juggling with so much. You are just finding your feet in this whole entrepreneurship world, and you don't want to be set back with this. And that didn't help here. So then the solution thinking in me was like, you know what, if not here, I can always set it up elsewhere. What else? So I think at every juncture, I kind of say, what else? Now what, right? What else can I do? The solution thinking really helps me to kind of navigate these 2-3 hurdles that I faced earlier on. And the being lonely at the top, right? Or being lonely in this journey is a constant, so I think the second learning was just accept that fact, and you don't need to, you have to keep that you remove that loneliness as a third person and just let it sit out there in the room and say, I'm acknowledging you are there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect with other fellow entrepreneurs, and I would connect with associations where people meet, network. So what I promised myself after that, the acknowledging that there is this loneliness. So what I acknowledged, once I acknowledged that, and what I did next was that I promised that every month I'm going to go and do some kind of a networking. Because as I'm a very social person, the whole conversation stimulates me. All these conversations stimulates me. And one of the biggest thing I miss from my corporate world is the water tank conversation. Like you're just walking to, you just want to talk with another colleague, understand what's the challenges, what is happening, and just go back refreshed and go back to your work. So what I do with these networking events is, one is the focus of, I'm going to meet new people, and but the way I approach it is, it's going to be my time to do that water tank conversation, understand what's happening in their world, and come back to my workspace completely refreshed, completely inspired, and then move on. So that really helps. And one positive outcome from this whole pandemic has been just this whole access and the openness of people from different parts of the world to just get on a call and talk to each other. So that has really, really helped me a lot. In fact, from the last 4 years of being in the business, I think the last 18 months have been like such a different working environment for me, because anyways I was working from a home office, and now I'm able to access many more people out there.
Yeah, look at us. We are having a virtual coffee today, aren't we? On Zoom from
Yes.
different countries altogether. So that's the power of technology for sure. So thank you,
Right.
and I'm so pleased that we connected, and it's been such a wonderful conversation. So good connecting with you.
Yes,
Um,
I'm glad too, and I'm so I hope that my journey, my story, kind of inspired even one person from your
it's worth
audience.
it. It's worth
It's
it.
worth it.
Definitely worth it. So anything else you want to talk about, or tell them about where they can contact you, how they can reach you, or
Sure.
anything that you have for free for them?
Yeah,
Please go ahead.
definitely. Yes. Thank you for asking that. So the first and the foremost is, they can contact me. I'm on digitalgd.co. That's my website. And they can contact me on LinkedIn. I am on LinkedIn very regularly. I post there as well. And they can find me as Surbhi Dedhia.
Mhm.
I'm also on Instagram and Facebook, but my names are different. Surbhi Dedhia is the common thing on Facebook
Okay.
and also on Twitter. But
Mhm.
on Instagram, I'm Pixie because that's my personal. But I also like to entertain conversation DMs there as well.
Right.
So that's that. I'm also a founder of jotmybio.com, which is a bio writing, personal bio writing service. And this service has really been very powerful in the pandemic era because a lot of people made their LinkedIn profiles, they kept it there and never looked at it again. So what this service does is helps them put out about summary, and it's very powerful to kind of compress your work experience into a very beautiful personal bio that
Summary.
goes out there. A lot of entrepreneurs are using the service to use the for the about section of their
Mhm.
website.
Yeah.
So that's another thing for people to look out. And the third thing that I want to share, and as the thing to inspire other people, is that I've launched the Making of a Thought Leader podcast. It's a podcast for thought leaders, entrepreneurs, executives who want to really, build their leadership through expertise that they know and share inspiring stories. On the podcast, I actually bring not only the entrepreneurs who have progressed on their journey as a thought leader, but also marketeers like you, Anjali, and others who are expertised in certain areas, which can help the thought leaders to think differently, who are building their thought leadership. Yeah, and the other kind of segment that I address on the podcast is authors who write about leadership and thought leadership. So,
Interesting.
podcast is merely for me to kind of reach out there to the audiences and inspire them to through different stories that I bring on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Surbhi. It's been absolute pleasure. And I will definitely subscribe to your podcast. And I
Thank you.
request and encourage all of you out there to listen to Surbhi's podcast of what it takes to be a thought leader out there. And I hope you found this, conversation valuable and insightful, and you will go out there, to define your customer personas better with Surbhi's help and all the tips and all the wonderful insights that she has shared with you today. And I hope really that conversation brought some value to you out there. All right, guys, and now for that little surprise that we promised to you at the end of this podcast. Thank you so much for listening in all this while. And I will let Surbhi share what's the surprise she has in store for you.
Thank you, Anjali. I believe in giving because when you give, you receive a lot more, and it's a chain effect. So today I have prepared a freebie specially for your audience, and it is
Nice.
called Hacking Marketing for Small Businesses, Small and Medium Businesses. What this tool, it's a guidebook, and it's probably like a tool for owners, small business owners, to think how they should approach marketing and how they can leverage digital marketing to grow their businesses. So I'll put a link, or probably you can put a link to it. I'll share the link with your audience and they can access to it.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So, guys, learn how to hack the marketing as a small business owner. Make use of this free resource that is provided so generously for you, and we will definitely share the link for you to access it. Thank you so much, Surbhi, for that generous offer.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure.
Thank you, Surbhi, and thank you once again, wholeheartedly from the bottom of my heart to join me today. And I really appreciate your time. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it useful. Your support and feedback is invaluable. So please don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe for more such business growth hacks. You can find us on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. See you soon.